Hey guys, let's look at some of the GCP Professional Cloud Architect certification questions. This video is on high availability and disaster recovery questions. Now, there are a lot of content which I will be putting for this certification on the members area. So you can click the join button below my video, or you can go to my YouTube page and then you can become a member, Cloudkernel member and Cloudninja member will have these questions. So th these small videos are just as a teaser, but you have to become a member to gain access to the full content. So subscribe to this channel. This will help you with AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure Cloud certification. Now, from a certification standpoint, for this certification, these are the important topics: networking, hybrid connectivity, data storage and databases, security, cost optimization, resource management, HA, and disaster recovery. So we will look at some questions around high availability and disaster recovery so that you can do some focused learning. Because if you keep switching among the topics, the questions, if it keeps flipping between the topics, it is very difficult to understand one concept very clearly. So I have created this content just focused so that you can focus on high availability and disaster recovery. So let us look at this question. This is a question where your company is running financial applications and they are already on GCP. Okay, they are already on GCP, and they are saying, "Buddy, I have these requirements. My RTO should be of 1 hour and RPO should be of 15 minutes." Okay, RTO is recovery time objective, and recovery time objective means within 1 hour, my disaster recovery system should be up and running. And RPO means point objective. That means my data that is there in the primary site. So I can just tolerate a loss of 15 minutes. Okay. So if it crashes now, 15 minutes before whatever the point of commit was in the database, I want that data. So the application uses compute engine instances. So they are already making use of a lot of compute engine on GCP and a persistence disk for data storage. So they are doing a regional persistent disk. How should you design disaster recovery to meet the requirements most cost effectively? So you they are already saying that we have a regional persistent disk. So that means you have to propose a disaster recovery strategy which is global, my friend, global in nature. So this is the key, global. Okay, so option A says, guys, we will go with multi-region active passive setup. This looks correct because you don't want a regional disaster recovery. You want to move out of the region because you already have a regional in place. Okay, so this looks correct, but let us scan through other options. So why this looks correct? Let me explain. You see this description? In this case, this is the most effective approach. Why? Because there is already an active passive setup across regions. So suppose your primary site is in US, Ohio. What you have done is you have moved across outside the region. You have gone somewhere in Europe, maybe in London. That is your disaster recovery site. And asynchronous replication of the persistent disk. This allows you for an RPO, whatever the requirement is for 15 minutes and RTO of 1 hour. This will ensure that is possible. Okay, what next? Option B says, guys, let us utilize a regional managed instance group. This will not work. You are already in the region. If the region goes down because of an earthquake or any disaster, you have to go across to a different region. So this is the explanation which will make it clear. A regional MIG, it provides high availability within a region, not outside a region. If there is a full regional outage, you are screwed up, man. You're screwed up if there is a full regional outage. What if all data centers in US goes for a toss due to some calamity or something of that sort? Okay, or you already have a very fragile president there. If he takes some decisions which screws up the entire ecosystem, what to do? Your system applications still need to be up and running. So you use something in London or something in Europe. Okay, okay, option C says, guys, let us deploy the application across multiple zones within a single region. Again, the same problem. You've got to move out of single region. You have to have a multi-region support. So this makes it very clear. Deploy across multiple zones will still, I mean, this will help you with zonal failures, but not with regional failures. Okay, you got to shield yourself against regional failures. That is what this question is asking for. And then you have option D, which says, guys, let's do a multi-region active passive setup with synchronous replication. Now, a lot of times, see, in a certification exam, you will be very clear that this and this is wrong. It is easy, but then you will have two options which look similar, and one is synchronous, the other is asynchronous. So what should be the answer? And that is what confuses. So if you do a lot of synchronous, then what will happen is there will be a significantly add up in the latency. So this is unacceptable for critical financial applications. Latency for critical financial applications is a strict no, because there will be a problem of high latency. That is why this option will not work in our. So option A is our final answer. Let's go to question two. Question two says you already have an e-commerce platform and you are receiving a lot of high traffic. There are peak seasons. Now you need to ensure that the application is highly available. Even if there is a peak season, a lot of requests are coming in, but still it should be highly available. Even if your entire region goes for a toss, again here we need a multi-region disaster recovery solution, because this is not saying that you have to shield against zonal failures. You have to shield against regional failures. Okay, what is the application about? What sort of application is this? This is the e-commerce platform, but the application, it has a front end which is deployed on compute engine. It has a database which is a Cloud SQL for Postgres, and you have to say, boss, what recommended strategy you will take for cross-region disaster recovery. They are already telling you, but I want a cross-region disaster recovery. They are already telling you this. Sometimes in the certification, they don't tell you this. They just say, I want a disaster recovery solution. Okay, option A says you deploy the front end using MIGs and configure Cloud SQL for cross-region read replicas for see regional MIGs. MIGs are always regional. So regional MIGs, it provides high availability within the region. So we have to go across the region because we have to shield ourselves against regional failures. Okay, so that's why this is wrong. But what about Cloud SQL? See, Cloud read replicas can be promoted for cross-region failover. That is perfectly fine. DMS continuous replication is generally a more managed. So what we are saying here is, boss, you can do this. It's not no, but best practice is use DMS. Okay, and that is the reason we are saying option A is ridiculous. Okay, now we have option B. Option B, it is telling, guys, I want to do a multi-region active passive architecture. Perfect. We want multi-region. Okay, now what? How would you replicate the Cloud SQL to stuff? They are saying, I will use DMS. Perfect. That is what helps you with continuous replication. And what about the front end application? Because it talks about two things. Front end, this is point one, and then they are talking about database, which is point two. So point two has been taken care of. What about point one? Point one says front end instances in a passive region. You deploy front end instances in a passive region. So this takes care of both. So this is a robust strategy, TR strategy. DMS provides continuous replication, and pre-deploying provisioned front-end instances in passive region allows for quick failover. Okay. So whenever a disaster strikes, you want to make the disaster recovery site up and running as soon as possible so that there is minimized downtime for the end users. You will not lose business. Imagine Amazon.com goes down for an hour. They lose so much of business across the world. So that is a strict no. So you want to minimize that. You want to minimize to a great extent. Okay, third, you use global load balancer. So you have front end application. In front of that, you put a global load balancer. And then Cloud SQL, you configure it for high availability in a single region. See, this is again a problem because you are doing it within a single region. And what if the region fails? You are not shielding yourself against regional failures. So you read this global load balancer, good for distributing traffic globally. Okay, but if your backend services are only in one region, what's the use of using global load balancer? Okay, so this one is again for only zonal failures, not for regional failures. So that's why this option will not work. So option C is wrong. Option D says, guys, we will do a multi-region active setup. Okay, that's great. Now we have something which is similar to option A. Okay, so multi-region active setup for front end and a separate independently managed cloud instance for each region. See, the thing is active is perfect. It is good. Okay, and independently managed SQL instances in each region without proper synchronization mechanism would lead to data consistency issues. Okay, you cannot just go bonkers and put your database in every region, and you are not telling how will you synchronize the database. That not going to work. Second, you have an e-commerce platform and it is requiring a single source of truth. So you don't split your databases in multiple regions like a mad person. Now, this design is only suitable if data partitioning or eventual consistency across region is acceptable. In this case, we are talking about e-commerce transaction. Eventual consistency Imagine you bought something, okay, and uh, you put an order for $10,000. You bought something from Amazon.com, and the next minute you are not able to see your order, and you are in limbo. What happened? And then you call the call center, and then they say, hey, you know what? There is a eventual consistency. So after 10 minutes, you will see it. So you so imagine how many customer support calls they will get, Amazon will get if they do this. So for e-commerce transactions, everything has to be immediately real time, super real time. So option D will not work in this case. This is wrong. Our final answer is option B. This works perfectly fine because we are doing an active passive architecture. Active active will not be desirable here. It will be an overkill. Okay, so you are migrating your on-premises financial reporting system to Google Cloud. You have not yet migrated. You are going to migrate it. Now, what does this application do? This system generates large reports daily. And where do you store it? You store it on file shares. Okay, so what is the problem all about? Users need highly available access to these reports with low latency. That means anytime they want to access these reports, immediately they should be able to click and see this with low latency. That means they should not, they don't want to wait for 20 seconds, 30 seconds to view that report. The latency should be very. Okay. So what is the most appropriate GCP cloud storage? So here we are not talking about disaster recovery. Here we are talking about a cloud storage solution to ensure high availability. So this is a high availability question. This is not a disaster recovery question. This is a high availability question. So let's look at options. First phase, we will use cloud storage multi-region. This should work perfectly because this is the most appropriate choice compared to all of the other options. We will go through those options, but multi-region buckets in cloud storage offers high availability by storing data redundantly across geographical locations. So they also provide high durability and serve content with low latency globally, which is ideal for widely distributed access for reports. So see, imagine if there is a regional outage. You have your reports in US, Ohio, and there is a regional outage. You have to go to a different region. Maybe somewhere in US, California, there is a separate region. So you would not lose access to the reports. That is what is required. So it is highly available. So option A would work. This should be the answer. But let us look at other options. Option B. It says we will do use a compute engine persistent disk, which is region. So compute engine persistent disk regional. See, first of all, regional stuff for high availability is a fucked up concept. So you have tied to a compute engine instances and do not inherently provide global access. So protection against full regional outage is not there. That's why this will not work, my friend. So option B is wrong. Option C says file store high scale tier. Would we use file store for? See, again, the problem is this is a single region service. Okay, it provides you zonal redundancy. It does not offer multi-regional high availability for shared files. So you want multi-region availability to make it highly available. So option C is correct, and option D. Option D says Cloud SQL with large object store. Would you store these files in Cloud SQL? First of all, Cloud SQL is a database. So you should put this in object store or file stores. This is a database. Now you may say, hey buddy, we can still put blob and clause. Yes, you can do it, but it is not designed as a primary file share solution. Okay, storing large objects in databases is very inefficient and impractical for direct file access. So who will use this for storing objects? Mad people will use it. Okay? Mad people. Okay, this is that kind of option. This is an idiot option. So option D will not work. Our final answer is option A. This is perfect because option A says we have to use cloud storage multi-region bucket. It protects you against regional outages because it is multi-region, and this is how you would be addressing the question because that question is saying I want high availability. Okay, now if you want access to all of these questions, become a cloud kernel or a cloud ninja member. Cloud kernel, cloud ninja member. Okay, take that membership on my YouTube page. You can find the join button, or below this video, you can see the join button. Click that, become a cloud kernel or a cloud ninja member, and gain access to these fantastic questions, which will elevate your chances to clear the certification. Remember, certification is a very complex certification, and the way we are structuring this is we are taking certain areas and going through all the questions related to those areas so that you can say, okay, if I have gone through these 10 videos, I have mastered high availability and disaster recovery. If I've gone through the other 10 videos, I have mastered network and hybrid connectivity. So that is the confidence you will get before you appear for the certification exam. See you in the next part. Stay tuned.